Let's talk about the best two foods for anxiety. Now, the Latin word for anxiety means to choke. So if you're being choked, you're going to experience anxiety. But let's see if we can come up with a good definition of anxiety. Sometimes people think it's stress, right? Is it the same thing as anxiety? Well, stress is more like some external pressure that is out of your control. So the more you're being pressured by something that's out of your control, the more stress you're going to, and you can have anxiety with that for sure. Then you have panic attacks, right? Well, that can be an anxiety state for sure, but panic is more like a high level, severe fear situation. But I think the best word to describe anxiety is worry. You have problems without a solution. You're fixated on certain problems or a problem that sometimes occurs at night during the day, and you just can't not think about that one problem. So that's going to produce worry or anxiety. And everyone has their limit of stress, anxiety, worry until they become overwhelmed, right? And it's really an individual thing and how much tolerance a person has to be able to deal with this anxiety or worry or stress. Now, if there's something missing in your body, okay, which we're going to discuss, like you're deficient in a certain thing, your tolerance for anxiety, stress is going to be on the low side. So today we're going to talk about the two best foods to increase your tolerance for the things that you're anxious about, the things that you worry about. So you can do a million things to the body and make it really strong. It doesn't get rid of the problems or anxieties, but it allows you to cope with them much better. Okay, so that is the purpose of this video. So on a physical level, when you have anxiety, we have a couple different parts of your body that are involved. We have the adrenal glands, which are two glands on top of the kidneys, okay? And they have an outer part, which produces hormones, and an inner part, which produces something called neurotransmitters, which are similar to hormones, but neurotransmitters are communications that travel through the nervous system, and hormones are communications that travel through your blood or circulatory system. And so we have the adrenals, and then there's another thing too called the autonomic nervous system. So part of that is in the adrenal glands, okay? But there's other parts of your body that they're located as well. And that would include the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And the sympathetic nervous system is also called the flight or fight system, okay? So that's like the stress system to cope with stress. And then the other system is called the parasympathetic, which is also called rest and digest. And that helps you cope with the stress. And the autonomic nervous system uses neurotransmitters to communicate and to work correctly. And so if we want to build up the tolerance to our stresses, we want to understand where neurotransmitters come from and what can influence hormones. Well, it just so happens that your body does make neurotransmitters, and something else inside your body makes neurotransmitters, and that would be your microbiome, which is pretty bizarre because you have these non-body entities living inside your body and outside your body that are making neurotransmitters that are going to greatly help you, and in significant quantities, like even serotonin. Your microbiome makes like 95% of serotonin. It also makes your other neurotransmitters like dopamine, GABA, noradrenaline. They make a lot of different B vitamins, especially B1, which is the most important vitamin for stress. Your microbiome also makes other vitamins, okay, not just the B vitamins. These microbes also make beneficial fats. They're called small chain fatty acids that help you with your blood sugars, that actually feed your colon. And these microbes greatly regulate and help control your hormones, okay, and your nervous system, and the central nervous system, and your immune system, and the amount of bile that you produce too. And that's something that helps you digest fats. It helps you extract fat-soluble nutrients, and it keeps microbes from growing in the wrong place, like the small intestine. So you can see these microbes are extremely important for your health. In fact, without them, you would be very, very sick. And they also have a great influence over your mood. Okay. Now, a lot of people are stuck in this trap. When they go through stress, they crave this certain type of food called comfort foods. What is a comfort food? A comfort food is a food that provides consolation, which is basically means comforting someone after some type of stress or loss or disappointment. It's that food that provides consolation or a feeling of well-being, typically with a high sugar or other carbohydrate content. So unfortunately, when people go through stress, they crave comfort foods and things like alcohol. And the problem with these carbohydrates and the alcohol is not only does it deplete vitamin B1 to act as a precursor for all of your neurotransmitters, it is the most important vitamin for anxiety, stress, and also the more carbohydrate that you eat, the more alcohol you drink, the more B1 is required. And the other thing about these carbohydrates and sugar is they feed a certain type of microbe in your gut that does not make neurotransmitters, that doesn't produce anything good, okay? It ferments the sugar, it basically eats the sugar, it loves the sugar, and it gives you inflammation instead. It gives you depression. There's been links to higher incidence of getting bipolar. When you feed sugar to microbes, it enhances the microbes that don't give you good things, okay? It also enhances candida, fungus, things like that. And these certain microbes that you feed, okay, that start growing in larger amounts, will then send a communication up to your brain, causing you to want more and more and more. And so it's a never-ending cycle that you eat the sugar that then affects the microbiome, which then creates more stress. And to counter the stress, you need more of this carbohydrate and alcohol to give you comfort. And then the whole cycle starts over and over and over again. So naturally, the two foods that are the most important in helping pull someone out of a stress state, or at least increase their tolerance to stress so they can deal with it so they don't get overwhelmed, are number one, any food that provides like probiotics, okay, good bacteria. And number two, foods that provide thiamine, B1, okay? Now, there are foods that provide thiamine that also have a lot of carbohydrates. We're not talking about those. I'm talking about things like nutritional yeast, okay? That has like the most B vitamins, and so that would be one recommendation. Those two foods are the most powerful two foods to help pull someone out of anxiety, okay, and stress and a panic attack. Now, as far as probiotic foods, let's just mention this for a second. You have fermented foods. You have pickles, kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir. Okay, you have those foods. Very, very important on a regular basis. You should probably have a good serving size every single day. Okay. But there's also something else that's quite fascinating. It's basically just raw vegetables. So why would a raw vegetable help give you probiotics? Well, yes, it does feed your microbes fiber that helps build these microbes. But there's something else actually very, very interesting that I recently found out about. Okay. And I did a video on this. Raw vegetables, if they're healthy, contain their own microbiome. They are a form of probiotics. This explains how kimchi is made and how sauerkraut is made and how pickles are made if they're a fermented product, okay? So let's just take sauerkraut. Where do the microbes come that help ferment sauerkraut, okay? Well, yes, there might be floating around in the air a little bit. They might be on the surface of that cabbage, okay? But mostly the microbes are inside the cabbage, okay? They're inside because they're part of the microbiome. Those are the family of microbes that help to fermentation process. They're called lactobacillus microbes. And so this is why raw vegetables actually can greatly help your microbiome, okay? Because they have microbes in them. Now, on the flip side, you may have gut issues where you're doing carnivore, and you probably have seen this before where vegetables are toxic and they can hurt you. Well, yeah, if there's damage to your gut, Okay. But the vegetables in themselves didn't originate this damage to your gut. Okay. They're not the culprit. Of course, you can't digest them now or deal with them because there was some other thing that destroyed or irritated or damaged your gut, like vegetable oils, which is very ironic because it's really seed oils. It's not like you're taking vegetables and squeezing out the oil. And it's made a very difficult time digesting anything with fiber, including vegetables. But if you can digest raw vegetables, that would be a good thing to start fortifying your microbiome. Okay. And if you have fermented vegetables, that's a little bit easier to digest sometimes because they have other factors in there, like they have certain acids, they have more concentrated microbes and more enzymes to digest that food. So we have number one, probiotic foods, okay, and vegetables. And number two would be nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast is a product that is loaded with B vitamins. And you want to get the version that's not enriched or fortified with synthetic vitamins. Okay, you just want to get nutritional yeast. In fact, there's a couple different ways that you can take nutritional yeast. You can sprinkle it over your salad. That's what I do. Or you can get them as a supplement, like a little tablet. But if you take anyone that has anxiety and you give them nutritional yeast, within 3 minutes, they're going to feel a shift of calmness, of relaxation, of a lot less nervous tension internally. Okay, it's a great thing. And I think until a person tests that out, they won't realize how powerful that is. In fact, I'll put a link down below of a video I did on nutritional yeast, but just read the comments to see how people feel after they take nutritional yeast in relationship to stress. It just makes them feel calmer, increase their tolerance for stress and their ability to cope with stress. And so when solving problems, you can't be overwhelmed. You want to be able to tolerate life so you can solve problems better. In fact, just to make it easier, I put this nutritional yeast video up right here. Check it out.